Welcome back to the Moyne Way Podcast, where we explore the people, ideas, and everyday moments that shape life here at Moyne College. Told through authentic stories, open conversations, and the spirit that makes this community one of purpose and belonging. Thanks for joining us this week on the Moyne Way Podcast. We have the one and only Joyce Suslovic. I've been working on that last name. We got it. The one and only Joyce Suslovic. Joyce, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit with me.
It's my pleasure.
Truly, thank you so much.
Definitely.
I want to start before we kind of get into your ties here at Moyne. For the people that don't know you, can you kind of give some background into your life and your story and kind of like your roots here in Syracuse?
Yeah, I grew up in a factory town, factory city, Lawrence, Massachusetts, and grandparents were new Americans and came over poor. I was first generation college, and that's where my heart is with every student, but definitely a soft spot in my heart for first gen because it's always scary to be the first person to walk into a party. And it might be, college might be where you're walking into or whatever, but if you're first gen, there's a lot of unanswered questions that are going through your head.
Yeah.
And so any way that, we can ease that stress, and I'm really excited because 2 years ago, some Moyne students decided to start a first generation college club here.
Wow.
And I am just so proud, and just to step back and see that flourish that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so, wait, you weren't first gen, were you?
Yeah, I was first gen.
You were first gen.
I was first gen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like for you growing up, and how did that kind of help you to want to get into the space and help other people with that kind of transition?
Well, I'm passionate about inclusivity, and nobody. I sat and had a conversation with a student a couple of days ago about, I have to take out loans, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
And I just put everything aside and I said, okay, rule number one, if you're passionate about something, you never let money stand in your way. Okay? The waters will separate, you will find your path. Okay? Someone will step up, they will help you, whatever. Someone will help you with a workaround. And that's what I take great pleasure in doing at Moyne. And I'm so blessed, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to work one-on-one with students.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And at what part of your journey did you know you wanted to get into education growing up?
I can't remember a time when I didn't want to get into education.
Okay.
It's kind of like somebody explained it to me, early on when I set foot on Moyne's campus. They mentioned the word calling, and a calling. I guess it's a calling. It's more than a job. It's so much more than a job. Teaching is, you are the conduit, you are the middle person. Like I was talking to you earlier and mentioning, all right, so I have students who are now, they've come from third world countries, and they're now engineers, they're now medical students, producers of, shows in New York City, on the city council in Syracuse, just involved in so many different fields. And that's just so rewarding to me. And when I think back, I always have an anecdote in my head for each one of these students. And I was just telling you one, and it's just, I don't know, like you can't put a price tag on the rewards that you get as an educator. And it is a passion, it is a science, it is an art, but, anyone who's anyone was probably, hopefully, sparked by a teacher at one point in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we kind of dive into Moyne and like your ties here, I want to know, like, what are some things that you've seen in education that were really eye-opening to you, in some areas that you feel like, need improvement or we need to, focus more in on?
Well, I think, with all due respect to so much technology that has really, really enhanced teaching, and especially during COVID, it allowed us to reach into people's homes and,
Yeah.
conduct education and whatnot, we should never lose sight, or we would never want to lose sight of the connection between a student who's sitting right in front of me and me. And, that I think that's the soul of teaching. It's the soul of teaching. And it hurts me when I see people on laptops, and they're on their laptops, but they're talking to a student. Or, people that are on their phones, and you can't, that's a connection, that's a bond, and that's sacred to me. And to look into someone's eyes, to understand their story, to understand their journey.
Yeah.
And no matter what walk of life that student comes from,
Wow.
that student has a message. And one of my mottos to students is, hopefully you've learned as much from me as I've learned from you.
Wow.
And that give and take, that synergy back and forth, it's just such a spark, and it motivates me to come in every day. And every day, this is 48 years, 49 years this year in education.
That's wild.
And every day holds new surprises.
Wow.
And sometimes the frustrations are intense, but when you overcome whatever is bringing you that frustration, you can't put a price tag on that.
And what are some things that have helped you to overcome some of those frustrations, especially early on? Because I think, when especially, working with, young people, going through struggles and difficulties, especially in education, it's inherent. And I think a lot of people struggle with how to navigate those times, knowing what to do, who to lean on. It could just be very overbearing. You have all these external things going on. So what are some things that have helped you in your personal life, and some things that you've seen in, the young people you've worked with that have really helped them navigate those times as well?
Well, I think early on, both my mom and dad, they were both jazz musicians. My mom was a singer. My dad was a piano player.
Wow.
They met doing a show.
Okay. Wow.
So we always had musicians coming in for rehearsals to our house and everything. And it was just total inclusion, total, an open system.
Any and everyone can come in. Like
Absolutely.
Yes.
And, so when I got into teaching, it's like you reach out to the outliers. All right. And if there's a student who's hanging around outside your classroom, it's your job to notice that student and say, come on in.
Wow.
And so whenever I taught, I actually taught the methods in ed class at SU at one point. And I always told students, in the methods in ed class, number one, rule of thumb, okay? Number one, reach out to the outliers. Bring them in. Okay, your classroom should be like this. Teach in a circle. Look into everyone's eyes and sit in the circle with your students. Be a learner with them.
Wow.
I have no right to stand up and pontificate in front of my students. So we're all learning this stuff together.
Yes.
And that promotes questioning. It really does. And we question books. We question, well, how come this person isn't in, because I taught U.S. history and global studies.
Wow, okay, that's
so
awesome.
It's like, why is this person left out? Why does this person only get one paragraph or one line? But this person over here who is this person? But they have almost a whole chapter. And so these are questions that why is it that when I taught in Syracuse, we were asking questions. I taught public policy.
Wow.
Through Syracuse University. And it's like, okay, so why in the suburbs do school buses pick up students at every corner? But we have to walk 2 miles. So we launched a campaign, 2 miles is too far.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we went to every school board meeting. I had students that wrote raps and presented them. They gave us, every person has 3 minutes to speak at a board meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So we would roll up, okay,
Yeah.
and each student would sign up
Okay.
for 3 minutes
Wow.
each.
Wow.
And, it was just phenomenal. So this was a big thing. And students did research. Students did cross-city urban comparisons, and they learned how to lobby
Wow.
without contributing big sums of money.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
important.
Yeah, and there's still students are still walking a mile, but we got it down from 2.
Yeah.
So so the 2 miles is too far campaign was something that was really important to us. I had a student who asked the question, why at one of the city high schools are they teaching American Sign Language as a language, but they're not teaching it in any other high school? And so just by that, just ask why, question everything.
Yeah.
And by asking that question, now ASL is in every high school. Why isn't African American studies a thing everywhere? Why does it only have to be like a super course? Why isn't it accessible to everybody? So we blew that open.
Wow.
And you can't be afraid to make enemies. You can't be afraid to, you have to just get out there. And so, and you have to, we had protests. We stood outside. My students didn't need bullhorns. They had loud voices. So, we stood out and protested.
Wow.
And it goes back to roots of U.S. history. When you look at revolutionary practices, why are we here? Why, it's the American Revolution. Things didn't happen just by sitting at home.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, we got out and we did stuff. And those students now, if they're, some of my students are in their 50s right now, their early 50s, right? And so if they're, I know, and I absolutely love to see, when I run into students, that's the best.
Wow.
But, if they're in a situation where their child is experiencing difficulty in a school setting, they know how to go in and advocate. And that's the most important thing. If you see me advocate for you, I need to be the model, and I need not to be afraid. I've been moved from one school to another because of this, but no problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes you walk on a tightrope when you're an advocate.
Wow.
But no one to hold them, no one to fold them, and your students get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
That's a good saying, no one to hold them.
It's all with love.
I like that, yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that. And I really resonate with just the power of questioning that you're talking about. It is so important. I think it's almost like a lost art because we grow up and we're almost taught not to question things. Follow this script, stay in this box. And when you start to, it can kind of take away your critical thinking. And to be able to do what you say as far as put yourself out there and take those leaps, you have to have some sense of, critical thinking and be able to like ask questions and have some sense of agency in your life. So that really resonates and struck a chord. It
Absolutely.
really does. Yeah, it really does.
And that's a key to survival. You got to use this with this, and it comes together.
Yes, ma'am. And another thing that really interests me is, you being in education, the first thing that comes to my mind is teaching. But something that I'm getting from this conversation is that a lot of your teaching with the young adults wasn't always just about the books, about in classroom. It's also about real life things, mental and emotional well-being, how to, ask the right questions and think critically. So how important is the other facets of life outside of the classroom in your mind?
It's super important. When I would walk into a classroom on the first day of school, it was so exciting because beginnings are everything.
Yeah.
All right. And so I walk in and hand out like a king size, queen size index card to everyone. It's like, okay, tell me yada, 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 the contact information, all the, the demographics. But now flip the card over and tell me about you.
Wow.
And tell me, okay, what drove you to come into school today? Not everyone made it on the first day. Why are you here in this classroom? Why? Okay, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? 5 years, 3 years, whatever. And what do you do? Do you sing in church choir? Do you belong to a dance team? Do you play soccer? Do you play basketball, lacrosse, whatever? I will come and see you at least one of your events. And I did that. And with 175 students
Wow.
when I was teaching high school.
Wow.
It was a lot, but you know what? by the middle of the year, that was my goal. You know, teaching never ends in the classroom, never, ever, ever. And it goes outside. So teaching is on the soccer field. And just watching, you know, I mean, in a game, I'm watching as a student, and he's like this on the field, and his dad is yelling at him in Arabic, and his coach is yelling at him in English, and they're two different messages, and he's like that, you know. But then I got to know his family, and it's just such a beautiful, to embrace the community that you teach in.
Yeah.
Because that becomes part of you. It should become part of you. And when I drive up and down, like the north side, I always tell students, there's not one street I don't know. Okay?
Not one.
Not one.
Yeah.
And when I drive up and down, not only that, but when I look at different houses, I have different memories. And some of my memories are like sitting on a floor and enjoying a great Somali dinner.
Wow.
You know, or going to this function hall and celebrating a wedding of a former student or two former students who married each other. And, you know, I can tell you what the inside of so many houses look like, you know, when we're driving up and down streets. And you know, that's just such a beautiful, beautiful feeling.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I can imagine. That's so profound. And I can't imagine the impact that has on you. You know, that could be a big reason why, like, you have that fire to just keep on going. You know, when later down the line, you see some of your former students in these positions, or seeing the impact that you've been able to have on them and that they've had on you. Like, I can't imagine what it does to you internally.
And so many stories. When we sit down, you know, and when students are home over breaks, they'll call me. And we'll go to like a diner or something and have breakfast. And, you know, and again, it's kind of funny because I have a student who is from the Karen community in Syracuse, which is Southeast Asian.
Wow.
Another student from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And they came in and we did college trips. We did so much exploration of futures. And now they're both mechanical engineers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah. And one is in Pittsburgh, and the other is located in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
In a little small town in Pennsylvania, New Philadelphia.
You taught them in high school?
I taught them in high school, but then they both went to RIT.
Got you, okay.
And when they had like different campus activities, they would invite me.
That's so amazing.
You know, and I helped them to prep for their interviews with HEOP there, and so many experiences that we went through. One of them, his uncle was a landlord, and just trying to, learn English, but also trying to, expand his one family house into two.
Yeah.
Well, he had to get a permit and to understand that. And he had to go to a hearing at City Hall.
Wow.
And so I acted as his interpreter. My student came, and so it was my student to his uncle to me, and I spoke at the council hearing. And, people were like, well, what's your connect? And I was like, I'm his history teacher.
Wow.
And, there was a Chinese restaurant on the north side, and it was about to get shut down, okay, because one of the students' dads had purchased the restaurant, from his homeboy from the same community in China that they grew up in. Oh, yeah, never looked at the contract, never looked at anything. Well, his buddy sold him a restaurant that was thousands of dollars in arrears in taxes.
Ooh.
And so, it's like, well, what are we going to do? And the student came to me, and she was always happy, and she said, we're going to lose everything. And I was like, no, you're not. If I'm a history teacher, I should be able to figure this out, right? So we went to the federal building, to the Bureau of Taxation, and we worked back and forth. And the woman that we met looked the guy up who cheated on his taxes, found him operating another business in Florida, took the taxes in arrears, and slapped it onto his business in Florida.
I didn't even know that's possible.
I didn't either.
Wow.
And when I said to the woman, I said, you're an angel.
Wow.
how can I thank you? And she looked and she said, oh no. She said, I love good Chinese food. And that's on my way home every night. I eat at their restaurant. You know, you can't make this stuff up,
You
Isaiah.
can't. No, you can't.
All right?
Yeah, that's
and,
good.
And this is what, you know, I wake up every morning with a smile.
Yeah,
This
I
is what
see it.
does it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's just the beauty of life, the beauty of the journey.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, that's it, you know, and you know, I would go home and I'd say, how can I make history come alive? And that's the theater background, right?
Yeah.
I would write raps.
Wow.
And I would walk in, and I'd walk in, we're sitting in the circle, and say, okay, give me a beat. You know,
Yeah.
what are we studying today? The absolute monarchs. Okay, and someone's giving me a beat. It's like the absolute monarchs had it going on. They had great parties on the palace lawn. Philip II, he ruled in Spain. Louis XIV, where did he reign? In France. They called him the Sun King, the state. He took the throne at the age of 8. After 72 years, people started to hate. I mean, I could keep going, but you know. it's
Yo,
like-
you're good. We got to get a beat on here next time.
I said to a student, I said, you know, wow, you did great on the Regents exam. How did you pass? Like, tell me your secret. And
He said the rap.
Miss S, truth be told, he said, I rapped through the whole exam.
That's so good, though. Oh, man, I love that.
So, you know, all kinds of things. I wrote a rap for the seniors at Moyne.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and I want to share that with them at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
maybe you have me back. I'll
Please,
rap that, or I'll
please.
rap it whenever. You
Yeah,
know.
that's great though.
Yeah.
That's a really good practice. So like another theme is I feel like you're a safe space for a lot of students. I'm interested to know, before I get into my second follow-up question, what was that safe space for you growing up?
Sometimes there wasn't. You know, there wasn't a safe space, and you know, in college, when it's like, okay, I'm living with this person, but then another person is introduced into the mix, and I guess I can't live in this space anymore, and just like really reaching the depths of like, you know, I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight, and I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
But you always keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is your education. And no matter where I was, I got up and I went into classes the next day. You know, and I worked, because I went to UMass Lowell. So Lowell is right up the Merrimack River from Lawrence.
Wow.
And a lot of factories. So I would come out of classes and walk to a job in a shoe factory in Lowell. And after school. And other students did the same thing. You know, we all realized the just amazing opportunities of an education. And it was through the state college system in Massachusetts, or anywhere, and we all kind of supported each other.
Wow.
You know, we had one room that was a safe space. You know, I mean, you had sororities, you had fraternities, but then you had us,
Yeah.
the factory workers, you know, part-time.
Yeah.
And we would come in, and we'd have like incredible philosophical discussions. Socrates questioned everything.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and so it all came full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
I'm sure it helped you to internalize that, you know, it's important to be, you know, for young people to have a safe space, and you wanted to be that for them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, working, like, another experience is like, you just don't realize, I think, when you're going through something as a young person.
So true.
Yeah, how it's going to come back, and it's
Yes.
going to benefit you, even if it's a horrific experience. You know, it's going to
tough.
make you maybe a better father
Absolutely.
years from now.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, why am I going through this? Why do I have to work third shift in a factory in the summer? You know, when my friends are going out, and my friends, okay, well, years later, I'm teaching about the Industrial Revolution. You know, my rhyme for today isn't very much fun. It's a shout to all those kids who never saw the sun. They were far too busy. They had no time. That's because they were working in a factory or a mine. Because education just wasn't an option. Many parents were dead to avoid adoption. Children worked so hard for the pennies they made. For their health and safety, people often prayed. It just wasn't right how those kids were abused by the rich factory owners. It makes me confused. You know, and just to be able to, you're teaching the Industrial Revolution, but you're writing the rap, and you get deeper and deeper into it. And students they're listening.
Yeah, and they're feeling it.
It's exactly.
They're feeling it.
Exactly. And you use theater and you get up and you walk around the circle, and yeah, history comes alive,
Wow.
and we always said history is nothing but a story,
Right.
Yes.
So. And how important do you think it is to know, where you come from and who you are and like your roots? Like as an individual, I feel like, ever since especially when I was going off of what you just said is so true when you said you have to go through certain things, or certain things that you go through that can be very tough can actually help you later in life. That's so true, and I've seen it, manifest in my life. But one thing that I've realized too as well that helped me to get through tough times and really open my eyes was just kind of learning about history and learning about where I come from, my family, things like that. It helped me to have like a deeper connection to myself and understand like, where I'm going, where I come from, the things that actually resonate with me. So how has that kind of unfolded in your life, and how have you seen that help, students just understanding history, not only their own, but just in general?
Well, when you say never forget where you came from,
Yeah.
those were the last words that when I dropped my son and my daughter off at their colleges, they both went to college in Boston, in the Boston area. And I remember as my daughter's going through the gates the first time, I put my hands on her shoulders and I said, never forget where you came from. Raised by a single mom, we didn't have a lot, but we're going further and further. Each generation does better than the one before, and that's progress.
Wow.
And my son the same way. And now my daughter is at U Chicago in social work policy, and advocating and setting up. When they had protests a couple of years ago, well, a year now ago, she was the one that set up the tent for counseling, for trauma, for whatever. She went to Palestine last year and was part of a delegation that relieved some of the social workers there, because as she said to me, there's no such thing as PTSD in countries that are besieged by attack.
Wow.
It's not post-traumatic stress, it's chronic stress all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So if we can lift this and give somebody time to spend with family or whatever, we're here.
Wow.
And when I come back to the States, it's going to make me a deeper, better counselor and professor.
Wow.
And it goes that way. And my son's at Onondaga Community College, and he's doing academic advising and, reaching out to students who like, well, what clubs are you in? What do you want to join?
Yeah.
How can I make your experience here better and more enjoyable?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so interested because I feel like I know service is big to you. I mean, I could already tell service is huge. Like it expresses itself in everything that you do. But I see also, like, my mom's a teacher. My mom's been in education for 20 plus years.
That's obvious.
Oh, okay.
That's obvious.
Okay, we talk. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Thank you. But something that she's told me about just teaching and education is very tough, and it's very overbearing, especially on young teachers. And a lot of them burn out. A lot of them just can't handle like how overwhelming it is. So for you, what has helped you to kind of last so long, and how have you been able to, fill your cup while still showing up so much for your students and the people in your life?
Okay, so this is where everything comes full circle.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
This is where it's a calling. Teaching is a calling. It's like, one of the Jesuit values, which I was exposed to when I first came to Lemoyne. It's like magis. That means more. So I can always do more. I can always work harder. I can always do more. You push yourselves. If you're an athlete, you push yourselves beyond what you thought your limit was.
Absolutely.
And you're exhausted, but what about that feeling of reward? You've overcome so much. And I always say to students when they come off the court or the field, it's like, how'd you do? Well, we lost. Okay, but what about you? Did you do your personal best? And that's so important in anything you do. When you go home at the end of the day, Did you do your personal best? Did you then are you going to do more, Magis? You're going to do more tomorrow? You know, it's like self-inspire. You got to inspire yourself. Because sometimes there's nobody else around to do it for you.
Wow.
You know, cura personalis. You know, my students taught me in the New American community a concept called Ubuntu. If I'm okay, you're okay. If you're okay, I'm okay. You know, the education of the whole person. You know, a student can't come in and learn about history and interact in your classroom if they don't know where they're going to sleep that night. If they are thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I might be pregnant, I might be this, I might, you know, they have these things like eating away at their brains.
They can't even focus on whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to you have to make yourself accessible, approachable, all the time.
So real.
You know, and it's like, here's my phone number. You can reach out anytime. You know, it doesn't matter. I got a text from a parent of a student here at 1:30 this morning. You know, and it's like, you know, a personal situation her daughter's going through. And I've got to reach out to her daughter this morning because I can't imagine her daughter sitting through classes and having to endure this personal experience, you know? And the thing that's great about Lemoyne that I love is that there are so many people I can reach out to.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be health and wellness, whether it be, or even better, I can encourage students to reach out to on their own.
So good.
But I'm more than happy to make that first step. You know, so yeah, people all over campus.
Yes.
that-
Wow. That really resonates. It really does. It really does. I think, I think those values are just something that you just embody. And I love what you said about calling, because I do think it's very true. I feel like my mom was called to be a teacher, and teaching can be a multitude of different things. It doesn't have to be necessarily in a classroom. You know, you could have been called to just be a teacher or an educator, you know, somebody that inspires. But my mom always says something that resonates. She was like, one of the biggest issues she sees in education is a lot of educators or teachers are more worried about being right than being effective, you know? And I mean, when she told me that, like, I had to take a step back, and I'm like, that's just like, that's in teaching, but that's in the whole world. That's in life. You know, so many people are focused on trying to be right in every situation, trying to be right if you're having a disagreement, rather than what's actually effective to leading both of us to a, you know, common ground, you know? And I felt like that really struck a chord with me. But the reason I bring that up is because as you're talking, I can tell that that's definitely a motto and a theme that resonates with you and you embody in your life, because I could just hear it in the way that you talk about your students and from what I've heard from people about you. You know what I mean? So it's just so deep. Yeah.
Well, you never shut the book. I always say never teach by the book, but, you know, life is an open book.
So true.
And your mom was 100% on point, if I can say that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about being right. It really isn't, you know, because I'm wrong every day. And I'm not, you know, I'll be the first to come up and say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And our students need to see this. One of the greatest things that I hope to instill, especially when I was teaching high school, but even college, you have to learn to laugh at yourself.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, elaborate more on that.
Oh, man.
Please elaborate more on that.
To the point of where, and I'm going to call his name out because you know him, AJ.
Oh, yeah. AJ.
Former student,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Current student.
Yeah.
He actually bought a book for either holiday or birthday or something last year to celebrate. He brought me a dad joke book, okay? And so, you know, different people would come in and we, you know, how did the custodian, now I'm bad on jokes,
Yeah, I
but
got
like
you.
everyone that came in, it's like, why, you know, why did the teacher marry the custodian?
Yeah.
And the kids are like, why? Because he swept her off her feet. Get it? You know? And it's like laughter in the worst moments, okay, it's okay to walk away and laugh. You know, laughter, flexibility, not being right, you know, being able to laugh at yourself, being able to apologize to someone younger than you.
So true.
You know, that's
So
so
true.
important.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's growth on our parts, but it's also growth. We're setting a role model.
Yes.
We're always, everything you do in your role, you're a model. You're a role model. How you conduct business. When I was watching you doing the campus cleanup.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't grandstanding. You weren't, you know what I mean? You were part of a crew, but you were also a leader.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what that always sets in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you want to project.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yes. All the time.
powerful lessons.
Powerful lessons. Man.
I'm gonna take your mom's though. I'm gonna borrow that.
Oh, it's better to be
Effective than right.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's so real. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
I had a little stint in education in Syracuse, and it really did open my eyes to just like what goes on in the school system that I didn't realize was happening. Like these kids, elementary, middle, high school, they're so vulnerable and susceptible to whatever comes at them. So either a teacher could be so transformable in a positive way or in a negative way, you know, and I've seen it on both sides, and
Exactly.
it's just wild, yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah. You know, I always bring snacks into students, right? And I've always done that.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Regents reviews, whatever.
Yep.
Brought snacks, taught through rap and theater, and just, you know, but being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is like, you know, I don't know what's going to be on this exam, but almost like working through the exam with you. We're part of a team. We're part of a team.
That's huge.
We are part of a team. It's not us versus them. And I started earlier on in this conversation, then I digress. But, you know, I said to students in the education course, it's like, rules, number one, okay, always have a lunch club. Always have a lunch club. When you're a teacher, have a lunch club. Eat with your students. I'm not there for the teachers. I'm there for the students.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If I want to see teachers on the weekend, that's my business.
Yeah.
You know? But eat with your students. That's when I learned about, you know, so many issues. Students would come up and I'd be correcting papers during lunch, and just the concept of like a working lunch. You know, it never stops, right? But never too busy not to put everything aside and sit and look into the eyes of a student and listen to that student.
Wow.
So you always have a lunch club. Always run an activity after school. We had film club every Friday after school. And we watched movies like the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman,
Wow.
Malcolm X, Blood Diamond, you know, movies that were action-packed. But then I had a lot of students, because a big part of my heart is with students from new American communities. You know, English is not a first language. And I would look at students and say, you know, you are far more intelligent than I am, because I'm cruising on one language.
I be thinking that all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
all right, so here you are, and you're going back and forth, you're processing, you know, all this stuff.
So wild.
You go to doctor's appointments with your parents and you translate. I had one student who negotiated the sale of a house for his parents when he was in high school, all right? And they would stay late. And what I would do on Fridays, they would come to film club. We had club elections, officers and everything. In the office, they'd give out popcorn and lemonade,
Wow.
all right? And then we'd watch the movie. But I always played movies with English subtitles. And so students were learning English at the same, in my own little quiet way. They were learning English through the subtitles.
Yes.
As they were watching the movies. And it was like we would pack 50 students in a classroom.
Everybody wanted to be in your classroom.
I mean,
Miss S.
it was the best.
Yeah.
It was the best. And then students had a cleanup crew after,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, they'd put videos on and stuff like that. You know, but it involves, like, if whatever age group you're working with, dive into that culture.
Wow.
Dive into that culture. I mean, I have like 2 quotes that I live by and I use all the time. And one of them is a Frederick Douglass quote, that without a struggle, there can be no progress.
Wow. Come on.
you know? But then I follow it up because these two go hand in hand. Okay, J. Cole, there's beauty in the struggle. There's beauty in the struggle. And to catch that, when I'm at graduation, I look at all these students walk across the stage. That's my favorite holiday. It's not Christmas, it's not Eid, it's graduation. That's my favorite holiday because I look up and I get emotional and I see the students that I've worked with and I see there's beauty in the struggle. That's it.
That's so deep. It resonates so deep. Wow. I mean, I feel like that was a perfect way to kind of segue out. I want to ask you so many more questions, but we could talk for hours.
I talk too much.
I know. I love it. No, I really do. But before we end, we got to move to the quick fire round. So these are quick questions, quick answers.
Let's go.
Let's just
go.
bounce to kind of lighten up the mood. But I have so many other personal questions I want to ask, but because of time, we have to end. But I appreciate you so much, truly.
Right back at you.
Okay. We have our quick fire round. So the first question is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay.
All the time. Caffeine.
Caffeine.
Caffeine is my dream.
Yeah. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Night
My
owl.
parents were jazz musicians, man.
Oh, y'all up.
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
are up.
We're in
Okay.
the clubs. Yeah.
Favorite food spot in or around Syracuse?
I would have to say over the Cuse Deli.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Over the Cuse
I think we've gotten that before.
Over the Cuse Deli is, first of all, I love to support local businesses. Second of all, it's owned by former students of mine.
That's so wild. Yeah, you are really tapped in.
Yeah, so it's like,
you
there's
tapped
beauty in the struggle.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I love that line too by J. Cole. If you could learn any skill instantly, what would it be? Anything. Instantly. No training.
Anything to do with tech, anything to do with
Okay.
computers, anything to do with, but you know, it's insightful for students to see me asking for help. Because I always tell students, asking for help is a sign of strength,
So true.
you know?
Yes.
And so
Takes courage.
I will go to the IT desk and I'll say, okay, it's me again.
Yeah. What's one thing most people don't know about you? I feel like your parents being jazz is a great one. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
please,
yeah.
anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and you know, so that's probably one thing, you know?
Your parents were jazz musicians.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah, that's
you know?
amazing. Yeah. Dream dinner guest, anyone dead or alive?
Say it again?
Dream
dinner guest.
Yeah, anyone dead or alive, if you could have dinner with anybody.
Oh, man. I'd want to hold a dinner party, you know?
You could add a couple.
I guess it would be like, I'm going back to the Harlem Renaissance, and like, you can't, I mean, Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes.
Oh, man.
County Cullen. I could go on, and with them, like Duke Ellington, Fats Waller.
Oh, your table would be huge.
I mean, I'm thinking the jazz musician, the fusion of the jazz musicians, the poets, Jacob Lawrence, the artists, you know. I mean, the Harlem Renaissance was like, oh my gosh, you know, just like, and so Josephine Baker. I mean, just so much, and so many of those artists who were driven to places like Paris, France, because they couldn't get their due over here.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and just to get into their stories. I mean, I have a huge jazz collection. I play piano. I play gospel piano.
Oh, you got to come into play the piano in the chapel one day. I want to hear that. Yeah, I want to hear
absolutely.
that.
You know, but yeah, these are all things that are coming out. But yeah, that would be so exciting.
Okay. We didn't talk too much about Lemoyne today, but that's okay because I felt like the conversation was great. But what's one word that you would use to describe Lemoyne?
Wow. I would just say, can I say two words?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
I'd say like supportive staff, supportive administration,
Community.
supportive, just that's right,
Mm-hmm.
communion of people. And so many people that, you know, I mean, I'm part-time here, and I just love to get to know people more, you know, and students too, like students helping other students. That's a spark.
Yeah.
You know, someone's struggling in bio, and there's a senior who's like, oh, I can help. You know, that's why I love packing that little office with like freshmen meeting juniors, meeting seniors. And when students step up and say, I can help. And that's something that I love about Lemoyne. Just those words, I can help.
Okay, and the last one is, if everyone from Lemoyne was listening right now, what's one message you would want to share?
Man, you should have sent me these in advance.
Anything.
I got so many messages I could share.
It's okay, yeah.
You know,
First thing that pops.
I guess one lesson is, whatever you're going through now, 6 months from now, it might just be a memory, if it even exists in your memory. Okay? So whenever you hit a slump, whenever you do one of these, you know, and you just pick yourself up, start over again.
Wow.
Keep going. You know, second chances are so valuable, especially after midterm week. You know, it's like, pick yourself up, you know, just keep going. Keep going. 2 words, keep going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for today. We want to give a huge thanks to LCTV for making this podcast possible in the studio space, to the Carroll College of Arts and Sciences, to the Grace Center for making this possible as well, and to Put God First, whose support also helps to make this podcast run each and every week. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Grace Center and LCTV in the links below so you never miss out. We will see you next week. Goodbye now.